Hello. Haha. Hey, I forgot to plug in my mic, so I just now got it plugged in. So here we go again. This is Mind Rewire, Tools for Subconscious Change. We love playing with the mind. We love seeing what we can do with our brains and how we can activate it to do other things and to actually utilize it to benefit our lives and our existence here, right? I think God gave us a brain for that particular reason. We're supposed to be able to utilize it. I think there's triggers and mechanisms within inside the physical body that when you understand those triggers and you understand the mechanisms and how it operates, you can actually get in there and use your brain to a far bigger extent than what we would normally think, I guess. So that's the big question today, is what can you do with your brain, right? So just talking to people and noticing things all the time, I'm always questioning, well, how would you affect that with use of your own system, right? Because we are an electrical system, we are an energetic system that's able to reach out and manipulate's not the right word, but manipulate our environment just by our thoughts, our emotions. When you're in a really good space of feeling, and you've all felt this, you know what I'm talking about, when you're feeling really good and your emotional chemistry is up, people can feel you, right, differently than when it's down and low. They feel you and they don't want to be around you. If it's high, they want to be around you. So you kind of attract people by that. So one of the things we were talking about is in these groups, when people do seminars and things like that, and you walk into this huge room full of people and they're doing whatever, you know, whether it's a Tony Robbins kind of event or whether you're going to a seminar to learn something. I went to one the other day that was a event. I actually didn't know what it was for. I went anyway. I thought, okay, I'm just going to go check this out. I'm not even sure why I signed up for it. Once I got there, what I found out it was for was learning how to do the stock market, and this dude had some really cool program. I remember why I went, because it was one of the sharks from the Shark Tank was supposed to be there, but of course he didn't show up. But it was a super cool program they had where you could learn how to do the stock market. That I'm not interested in that, so I just kind of listened and then I left. But it was interesting in the room, the guy who was doing the talking, how he engaged people and tried to keep the energy high. So, you know, you think, and Tony Robbins is probably the world's best at this, it's who you think of the most. How he engages, you know, it's all the fist pumping, all the clapping, all the noise, all the hype, him hopping up and down, constantly trying to renew the energy in the room and just keep it high and super pumped and super moving. And so one of the people actually I was talking to was saying he had gone to an event much like that, and the person who was doing the work was doing, you know, a fine job, whatever. He said what he noticed was the people he literally physically touched got their change. They got whatever the thing was that they had gone there to do or for. It was supposed to be one of those things, kind of like a Tony Robbins idea, where you go into a room and people bring their problems and bring their stuff, and then they're trying to change an issue across the board. But the guy, you know, would talk you through whatever, but he would get people up there and literally lay a hand on their shoulder, and they would just like see this whoosh, and this cleaning of the system. But the ones that got on the stage and got to touch him were the ones that got whatever it was. And he was like, what is that? Like, why does that work? And he was saying, you know, even if you watch a lot of the videos online, so you've got like Tony Robbins, you've got Joe Dispenza, you've got all these people who do these kind of things. The ones that are in front of crowds, it's the people that they literally touch or stand next to that seem to get the biggest benefit. Have you ever wondered what that's all about or what that is? I think it's something to do with the human connection and being literally engaged in somebody else's energy field when they are that pumped up and that full of those good chemicals, and you get that close of engagement where your energy fields are literally entangling. It's a whole different way of communicating with somebody on that level, and when you get to stand right next to them, you kind of get their vibe vicariously, or you get whatever lift they're getting vicariously. So he was asking, you know, like, how could you be on a stage and actually promote that throughout, that kind of consciousness is what he called it, throughout the whole entire audience, which is, I think, a lot of what we're going to keep saying Tony Robbins, what he does. Probably Joe Dispenza too. I don't know, even Kyle, I think is Kyle Cease, or Cleese is his name, the comedian who does a lot of this kind of work lately. Very cool stuff. And when he's talking to people, engaging across an audience, it's just that whole outpouring and getting people to change their mindset based on how high, right, physiology for him, his level of chemical construction is at that point, which is super interesting, I think. So if he can get the whole audience into that kind of a chemical atmosphere inside their own body, and it just radiates out and radiates out, I think that's how that happens. So what we were talking about was, if you did some kind of a group subconscious clear, so instead of on a level of consciousness, because I like dealing a little bit more with the subconscious, actually a lot more, but I like, because it's more permanent, right? You can get something seeded into somebody's consciousness just by telling them a thing, but it doesn't mean it'll ever carry out or carry over or get in deep enough that it turns into something for them in the course of their life, and unless they take it and really run with it. So on a subconscious level, you would have to engage with the whole group, with a whole room full of people, and tell them, we're going to go into the subconscious here for a minute and just have them feel for the energy of a room. And this is the same thing I do when I'm working with a person one-on-one. I get them to feel the energy of their own body, and I'm not talking about like an energy like if you're doing hands-on healing, when you're feeling the energy inside your hands or whatever. We're feeling the chemical fluctuation up and down inside their system. So I take them kind of on a roller coaster ride so they can feel the high, they can feel the low. We'll feel it with different things, like a memory, a feeling. So we'll actually attach an emotion in there somewhere. Get them to feel at different places in their body, their name versus what their name isn't. Yeses and no's, so something positive, something negative. So you would do the same thing, I think, is get them to feel the energy in the room, and then get everybody to feel a high, get everybody to feel a low, so we know what the difference is. You have to have something to compare it to, and just have them feel it and notice it, right? So it's active participation across the whole field of the room. And then just pick a topic. Maybe it's a global topic. Maybe it's, I don't know, global within the area. Maybe it's something that's going on within the room that everybody has, a part in or knows about, kind of thing. Maybe it's global, like a serious big global thing that's going on, because we have a lot of weird stuff going on. So I think this would be like a whole group prayer kind of attitude or idea. Whatever the struggle is, you get everybody to feel it, and then you go into a whole brain state, get everybody into a whole brain state for their own system, no matter what that is, and then hold on to that feeling until the feeling or the perception of it starts to change. That's kind of an interesting idea. I have never done that with a group. I haven't had the opportunity, but I wrote it down, and it's in my deck of things that I'm actually going to try next time I get to speak somewhere. So kind of fun, cool idea. I think it would be something interesting to try. It's kind of akin to the idea of reaching out through your energetic feeling, through your chemical construction, and touching somebody without actually touching them. And if their eyes are closed, they can tell you where you're touching, even though you never literally got touched, but you can still feel the touch just because somebody put their intention on it. Right? If you've never played that game, that's kind of a crazy, weird game to play in a group of people. We got to do that up in Massachusetts with a group. I've done it a few times. And they were super good about it. These folks were, it was actually a group of Psych-k people, and I think there was a few other things in the mix there, some meditators and yoga people. I'm not sure what all was in that room, but they were all very conscious kind of people, and knowing energy and knowing these kind of things. And so when they were, reaching out and touching, and I was one of the ones that got to be touched, I was just kind of sitting there and feeling, and pretty much every time was spot on. I knew right where they were touching and where it was going. Sometimes I had to sit there and really feel for it, but you could tell. It was crazy interesting to play with that. So interesting how the system works. It's literally the physiology of your body, and when those chemicals are in there, whether it's a low feeling vibration, you can feel it on somebody. Whether it's a high one, you can feel it on somebody. If you get really aware of these things, it's when you can start to kind of mold them and play with them and utilize it for your system, for your environment, for the world around you. And always to the benefit of people, right? Always try and stay on the good side of this stuff, because We know that there's people who don't. We know, I mean, it's just the nature of the world, unfortunately. So I just want to throw that out there. Stay on the side of God. Stay on the side of right. Stay on the side of light. However you're looking at it at this point, I don't put any second guessing into it. For me, it is God. I wear my necklaces. Everybody asks me about these and wonders, why do you keep those put out there? I'm a believer. I love it. I think God made us this way for a reason. I think you can utilize it. I think everybody can utilize it because it's the way He made the system. So learn to utilize it. That's what I would suggest. If you learn God in the process, or you know God in the process, it's another relationship and a feather in your cap. So I love that too. Anyway, that's, I'm not sure how long this one was. That's my 10, 15 minutes, whatever this has been. This is Mind Rewire. If you do get into a group where you can play this game and you actually get to try it and see how it affects the change, sometimes you don't notice exactly what has changed immediately, so you have to walk out into the next day and kind of notice what's different or not. If you do this, though, let me know. Type a comment in the bar below if you've got a group you can play with and practice with. Let me know what happened, how you felt, what you did, what kind of thing you actually went through to do that. I'd be really curious to hear about it. Thanks for listening, and I hope to talk to you again soon. This is Christy at Mind Rewire. Blessings and peace.